Hi everyone, it's Natalie here. Welcome to my channel. Marty welcomes you too. And this is ultimately inspired by Jennifer Ball. So I watched her, joyfully watched her intermittently last night clean up her altar and prepare it for Summer Solstice or Litha. And as a Tibetan, we don't really celebrate the solstice, but I do. I love it. It always lands around Father's Day. I have a really close relationship with my dad. It's also the celebration of my anniversary with Noah, my doggy, and he is in the bedroom right now on the floor having a nap because it's hot. St. Louis is under a heat advisory. We're getting like late July, August temperatures right now. So like yesterday, my car temperature gauge read like 104 at one point on my way home from work. It was hot. It was hot. So that said, like, man, I'm wearing the comfy clothes. This is 100% linen shirt that I have on. I have on these like wacky cotton pants that I got last year. They look like pajamas that I got last year at Costco or something. So I look like a tent coming back and forth from the camera, and it doesn't really show what I'm doing because I tried a couple of ways, of getting angles. So I think this is going to end up being filmed like partly cell phone, an explanation, and just like intersplicing different, bits and pieces. So we're going to give it a go. Okay, I'll be back from the other angle. So here's my altar. This is also why it's really, it's facing east. And it's not yet noon, but I really need to get on top of this because I really need to have my altar set for the day and for the rest of the weekend, and for all the stuff I'm doing. So, it really, because it's like the spiritual center, the magical center of my practice and of everything I do, really. So pretty important, eh? But it is kind of a mishmash of a traditional Tibetan altar and just me, and there are some Korean elements in here too that I can point out. So let's start on this side of the altar. So on this side, the eye-catching stuff here is all of the texts, I think. So these are different texts for the different practices that I do. And I still need to make the bigger, I made these like holders for my, for some of my practices here. And then I really need to do like the full-size ones back here. Just haven't gotten there yet. But yeah, that's what those are. Traditionally, on a Tibetan altar, you always have an enlightened text somewhere to the, as you're facing the altar, it would be to the left of the deity. With statuary, we'll go there next. The statuary we have is intended to be a Shakyamuni. I treat this as a Shakyamuni Buddha. It isn't, I think it technically is not. I think it would be Amitabha, but I treat this one as a Shakyamuni. So the Shakyamuni is always at the center, and or is, the main focus of your altar. If you have multiple statues, any other statues that you have go to the right of that, or to, the Buddha's left. Like right and left are always getting mixed up for me anyway, but in this case, that's how that goes. So to the Buddha's, to our right, we have Tara. That is green Tara, and she's hard to see again because this is facing east, and it's not noon yet even. So there is Tara. She's always characterized by having one foot perched like on a little, let's see if we can get it, there we go, on a lotus flower, because she is, partly in meditative contemplation, And in the other part, she's ready to leap to our aid at a moment's notice. So that's Tara. That's green Tara. Hard to see. Maybe we'll get a nice afternoon shot, like once the whole thing is clean. We'll be able to do that. And then next to Tara is Machig. So Machig Labdran. And she's got, in this hand, she's got a Damaru. In this hand, she's got a bell. And she's dancing as a Dakini. This is her fire of wisdom around her. Yeah. So she would be after, you know, they're in order of realization in time-wise. So there was a historical Shakyamuni Buddha called Gautama Siddhartha, for those who are not aware. Some people aren't aware, and I wasn't, I think, when I became a Buddhist, that there was more than one Buddha, right? Like, that the concept is that it's bigger than just one dude. Didn't realize that when I became a Buddhist. I just believed that the teachings were the right ones. I didn't believe, I knew instinctively and experientially that they were. So there's that. Tara became enlightened, I believe, sometime in the early first millennium, before the year 500, I want to say. And so, like, the story of Tara is that she was living in a human body as a woman, and someone told her that it was really a shame. She was very close to enlightenment and should become enlightened as a Buddha, and that she'd have to incarnate again for that to happen. And she basically just said, "You've got to be kidding me. That's ridiculous. If you can't get above those concepts or beyond concepts of gender, what are you even doing? Why are we even practicing? I'm going to do it in a female body, and that's that." And she did. And she used her incarnation and she used her Buddhahood to become as available as possible to all beings. And so Green Tara is the most revered emanation of Tara, because she, you know, she became very famous on the Silk Road because of her ability to just appear and help when called upon. Yeah. So I love her. And then Machig is very related to Tara, but comes quite a bit after Tara. I need to review dates. I'm sure I will put them at the bottom of the screen. But Machig, my teacher, Lama Soltrim, who I really should have a picture of on my altar somewhere near it, is an emanation of Machig Labdran, who herself achieved Buddhahood. So pretty rockin'. And on top, what she's sitting on here, so we have a conch shell, and conch shells are a symbol, they're a Dharma symbol. They're the sound of the Dharma, the sound the Dharma makes, and the call to the Dharma. And that she's sitting on a piece of rock that came from Tara Mandala. So very important to me because of that. This is also a, this is her with her retinue and lineage tree. So I also keep this card here. That's her in her non-wrathful form as a white Dakini. She sometimes comes through as in her wrathful form as a almost like a trauma who's up here, as a dark blue or a black Dakini. You know, the wrathful form is not like the bright sapphire blue, it's like a heavy dark navy blue. So that's that. So they're in the order that they're supposed to be in on a Tibetan altar. Now, what's not part of a Tibetan altar, these two candles, okay, these two candles are more like the Korean tradition. I like the symmetry. I liked having them back here behind Tara to like honor her. Also not part of the Korean tradition, right? This is a Natalie thing. Again, I just like the symbol of the white lotus. The other thing that's very Korean and not at all Tibetan would be the 2 pillar candles on either side of the altar. So those 2 pillar candles are there because I want them to be there, because again, I like the symmetry that it brings. The Tibetans, again, don't do that. But there's nothing to say that you can't. It just, they become an offering. So the candles are always just an offering. They're like offering butter lamps to the Buddha. Yeah. Past that, beyond that, what else do we have? We've got what is called, what's in here. This is the Men and the Rakta, which is this one. And what it is essentially, and we'll come to this one because it won't be as gross and it'll be easier to see what's in there if it has not already evaporated. You can see like the cats come in here a lot. Everything is covered in cat hair. I realized like I'm gonna have to take my whole thing apart right now because like, you know, little spideys are coming out and making cobwebs and cat fluff and all of that. So everything needs a really good clean. But the Men and Rakta is where you place the inner offerings on a Tibetan altar. So this represents a tripod that would have been made of skulls, okay? Then this is a skull cup itself. Lots of skulls. This is supposed to resemble a brain, obviously. And then inside the skull cup, there's still some left. We have, it's alcohol. It's usually hard grain alcohol. And so this is for the masculine side of the altar and the masculine side of the practitioner, knowing that we have both, right? And these are little grains back here from offerings. They look a lot like cat litter, which is what startled me at first and why I said something, because they track it through the house, don't they? But anyway, that, yeah, when I do my offerings, you'll see why. This one is the Rakta. It's the feminine offering, and it will be kind of nasty looking, you know, comparatively, if I can get the lid off. It's always a little bit hard to get the lid off initially, and it doesn't want to come off easily. It's tea. It's always black tea. It can also be blood. It can be menstrual blood. It can be black tea with, there's a specific type of substance, and I can't remember what it's called, but you can use that in there in place of blood or tea, or in addition to it as well. So it's also there. Now, these are just rocks I work with all the time, this particular chunk of them, and I'll just take these off and move them. Oops. Yeah, I don't want to spill the Rakta. Next to this, we have the incense offering. So, yeah, I don't know why it's on a Hamsa hand. I had one. I needed a tray. It's pretty. It's gilt. It's protective. And then this is a little pot that Tom made. It's really pretty. And, you know, trying to find a holder that really contains and holds Tibetan incense is a challenge. So, I just didn't. I just decided, okay, I'm going to put it in there like that with some black sand and leave it in front. 2 more rocks from Taramandala. 2 more rocks from Taramandala. This one has a story. This one does not. Now, if this looks familiar to you, it probably would, or could, may. It is Vajradakini, and I also have a smaller one of Vajradakini that I wear around my neck. And see all the cat hair on my geode? It's everywhere. Vajradakini is the protector of our practice, right? So she protects us, she encourages us, she admonishes us when we don't practice. She stays on top of things. I just offered her this little shell. It's like one that a friend gave to me as an offering because it's got a hole in it. Because I like, have this thing with hagstones. So they offered this to me. And I offered it to her. This rock, I was at Taramandala outside the temple, and it's a long story, but suffice it to say, when I asked a question, and when I lifted this rock, there was a very large spider beneath it. And suffice it to say, that was the answer I was looking for. So I never put the rock back, and I let the spider out of that little space, and that's it. if you really want to hear that story, I would happily tell it. Leave me a comment in the comments, and I'll elaborate. There's also a story behind this rock. Really kind of a wonderful story. So on this side, on the right side of your altar, you're supposed to have a stupa or a large crystal that is there in place of a stupa. And the stupa is there to establish it as a holy space and as a space rife for enlightenment. And I've had this particular geode since I was a small child. It was given to me by a Christian minister who really powerfully influenced me, and is also why I left the church, because I thought, well, nobody's really doing the practice that I was taught. They're not doing unto others as you do unto yourself, and they're not, like, what's the deal? But it's a sacred object. It's always been a sacred object, and the blue calcite up here, I had gotten to fill that purpose. Instead of a stupa, I was going to get a stupa, and then I saw this in like TJ Maxx or Marshall's and was like, I'm going to get that and use it. And it was there for a while. It was beautiful, perfect for this, particular thing. It kind of even looks like, I don't know, kind of reminds me of like Mount Everest or something. It looks kind of Himalayan, like in its shape and form. And I then realized, wait a minute, why would I not have this particular sacred object on my altar? So it's there, and it's actually perfect. The shape of it is perfect. The way it sits with the other stones and things is just perfect. So I've left it that way. This is a butter lamp. So this is a pretty traditional like brass butter lamp. I don't use butter lamps. Instead, what I use is just tea lights, and I anoint them so that they're offered in the way that they would be were they butter lamps. So that's there. This is Vajrasattva as an image. It's from a deck of, what is it called? Buddha Wisdom Shakti Power by Laura Shanti. So that's from that deck. But I just use them as altar cards because that's what they're most useful for me. And yeah, so there's Vajrasattva. What else? I also have there's where I keep my incense. As you can see, it's depleted. There's another very large conch shell, which I love having because, well, conch shells, Dharma. That's another, there's a whole jar of them here with my little elephant. Back here, this is all like, my geraniums love it back here. They thrive growing back here behind green Tara. Again, everything needs a clean. And I really just didn't do that very long ago. Last major holiday, but it all gets mucky. There's another, wow, it's got petals and there's dirt that's come out the bottom there. It all just, it's really bad. This is not my idea of the way one should keep one's altar at all. These are Tara Mandala rocks as well that my owl is sitting on. This was my grandmother Jones's. The bluebird was my grandmother Turner's. So I wanted back behind my altar just to have some space back there where my, some ancestry and women were honored. In front, we have the 8 offering bowls. And again, each one has its own mudra, or more than one. But you can offer water in all 8 of the bowls, or you can offer all of the different substances that are supposed to be in each bowl. I tried offering all the substances. It's fun. I prefer doing the water because I keep so many plants in here, and that way I can offer them the water that's been blessed. And I swear the plants that are behind my altar space, like I put the sick ones, or like the baby ones that are growing like from the root, or from a leaf or a cutting. Those are the ones I put back here if I can, because God, there's so much stuff back here. Because I want them to grow and flourish. So these were geranium cuttings. This one came from a piece that was about the size of this little one that fell off of a plant the other day. So yeah, and I made the little owl that's in there. So yeah, there's a lot of cleaning. You can see the dust, you can see the grime. It's all visible. Nothing to hide here. This is my like pull-out desk. So I'm not supposed to, in order to heal my sacrum and my pelvis, where the ligaments are just kind of not quite where they're supposed to be, I can't sit cross-legged for my practice at the moment, so I have to kneel. So I use both of my cushions. So it's kind of fun. So first I got this, and I just unfold that, and it says yoga on it. It is a yoga rug. I would put that down on the floor on the carpeting in my house, and then I'd put my other yoga mat over it, and it would stay in place better. Now it basically is in place of a zabuton. Yeah, this is the zafu, then the square-shaped cushion thing is the zabuton. So this was from the temple, got it covered in cat hair. I roll it regularly with the little roller, and it's filled with kapok. We made these at the temple back when I was in seminary. And yeah, so that was important to keep and to have, and I still have it. It's been all over with me. And then I have this one, which is filled with buckwheat, and it's, I wanted to get like a maroon or a red one, because when I started practicing in the Tibetan tradition, that's, for women especially, like that's the color. And really the Padma family is my color family. So my main one. Yep. So here is my bell and my dorje, very important implements. You need them for everything. They're the two most important by all means. This is my kongling, so it's supposed to be a thigh bone, but it's not. I don't want the responsibility of a real thigh bone, but it plays really, really well. So yeah, this is my thigh bone trumpet. This is my robe, my practice robe. I am not ordained at this point in any kind of Tibetan practice. For lay people in certain Chud traditions within the Nyingma community, it's still acceptable to, or it is deemed as like a way of honoring your practice, to wear a red zen isn't that iron? There's irony there too. But these are called a zen. So it's, basically it's regarded as respectful and appropriate to wear it during your practice as a woman. If I were male, I would wear a white one, but I'm woman, so I wear a red one. If you're ordained, you wear the red and white together in the Nyingma tradition. So Lama and anyone else who is an authorized teacher or authorized and ordained practitioner wears the red and white zen. I don't have one, but I may be putting up a picture right now, hopefully, of Lama Sultram wearing hers, so you can see what I'm talking about. Ironically, this one seems more monastic to people, but the truth is it's really not. Okay, not in the context and the tradition in which I'm wearing it. A kartika. So this is what the dakinis usually are holding. Yeah, here's a dakini. There's a karma dakini holding holding one. So yeah, and I usually have it behind my bed, and I just felt the need to bring it back here again. And then when I want to practice, I can pull this table out and set up, usually with my text in a holder back here, and then have my instruments and my text and everything, and do my practice. And when I'm done, I put it back, and everything's kind of tidy and put away. So I'm in the middle of cleaning out these little offering bowls. I don't know if everybody's do this, but this is probably not the exact community to ask. Mine, I don't know. It's probably just what's in the water here, just kind of did that to them. But when you clean them, and I shouldn't put it back here, you're never supposed to put an empty bowl on your altar. And you're supposed to keep one cloth that is just for cleaning your offering bowls. So this cloth is used, and you Don't put your hand in front of the camera. What one does, we'll go here. You wipe 3 times, let's see, wipe 3 times clockwise and then 3 times counterclockwise in order to clean it. So you do 3 times clockwise first and then 3 times clockwise second. First is wiping away all the emotional residue, and the second is bringing in all of the love and blessings of the Buddhas. Okay, I've almost got everything set up, and I'll come back when I do. Right now, I am just filling my water bowls the rest of the way. So the point being that you're supposed to have full, they don't have to be full, they just have to have a little bit of water in them when you put them back. And this is a little, there are special implements that you can use and so forth. What I've got here is just a very simple, I don't know what it would be called. It's basically like a pitcher or a vase that Tom made out of Hawaiian red clay and put that lovely glaze on the inside to keep it watertight. But yeah, I use that to keep my altar water in. And then I will anoint my candles and put all of those in place as well. So now that I got the water set up, it's time to anoint candles. So I just use these little tea lights that I get from Walmart, actually. And I then anoint them with a holy anointing oil that I made from olive oil, and this one's almost empty. I've gone through this at a faster rate than I anticipated. It's actually Benabel Wen's recipe for holy anointing oil, and I did make a few minor changes to it. Mine, of course, does not smell quite as rich as Benabel's. I'm sure there's a difference in the quality of the ingredients, and who knows? I mean, we used to say about cooking and stuff, and I'm sure it's the same with witchcraft, right? It depends on whose thumb's in it. But the smell of it is so healing and calming to me. And I can think of nothing more wonderful to offer back to the Buddhas. And I have a little ritual that I do as I'm offering. And I'm trying to decide if I want to do that or not. I think I will, just because why not? Because we're doing a witchy, although technically it's Buddhist, but let's be real. I think I've become a little bit resigned, sorry about all the camera action there, a little bit resigned to the fact that this practice is actually very witchy. There are elements that are shamanic as well, but so what I do is I usually just think it, but sometimes I also sing it. Now I'll sing it because I'm doing it here. Omea hum bam guru hari nisa siddhi hum. 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 Omea hum bam guru hari sa siddhi hum. Om mea hum. Bam Guru Harini sa siddhi hum. Om mea hum. Bam Guru Harini sa siddhi hum. Om mea hum. Bam Guru Harini sa siddhi hum. Om mea hum. Bam Guru Harini sa siddhi hum. Om mea hum. Bam Guru Harini sa siddhi hum. Om mea hum. Bam Guru Harini sa siddhi hum. Om mea hum. Bam Guru Harini sa siddhi hum. Om mea hum. Bam Guru Harini sa siddhi hum. Om mea hum. Bam Guru Harini sa siddhi hum. Om mea hum. Bam Guru Harini sa siddhi hum. So that's the candles. This is the result of the mess I've been making here while I'm working. Down here I have the offering substance, one of them. So this is called a circum. And these are used, they're kind of reversed because I took them out the other night to empty them and then never got them put back together quite the right way. But essentially, it's basically you've got a little cup and it sits in a saucer that also kind of looks like a bowl. And you can use like a little wine glass or a shot glass or something, teacup. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to do this if you don't have a circum. But what I do is I've got a, this is just a little, these are things that Tom makes that he rejects. So this is like a jar that he decided he didn't feel was up to par. So as with a lot of things he makes where he's like, I don't want to keep that, it's terrible. I appropriate it and use it for my altar. So today, because today's only the 19th, so it is Juneteenth today, but I'm going to use birdseed for the offering today. Tomorrow will be the solstice as well as Guru Rinpoche Day. And for that I have a special offering. I'll show you in a minute. But in the meantime, I'm just using birdseed because it's safe and it's a grain and it's something that the protectors and so forth have told me that they like. They like it. I asked if it was okay instead of rice and they were like, oh, we love it. It's great. So there we are. And we use the top and the bottom. I don't have to put it in the bottom. I do because I just want to, because I like the generosity in the practice. Yeah, when I explain the Buddha families, it'll make sense. I just can't help it. Like, if there's a way to be like, I love giving stuff. I like offering stuff. Yeah, it's just fun. It's fun for me. I enjoy it, so I just do it. I also have 2 circums instead of 1 because see also point A. I love the idea of making offerings. It's why I have so many candles. It's like, yay! It brings out the childlike happiness in me. But also, I realized at a certain point, I needed to have like a big circum, or a bigger circum, possibly even 2 of them. One for the traditional deities in our practice, who are our protectors. And I then realized that the main protector I'd been working with, who is from Machik's tradition, who has actually acted as a guide for me through a lot of the year last year. A lot of the I still feel him with me. I didn't realize that he was the only one getting the circum. So I kept a smaller circum just for Sangri Tsenmar. And I added one for all of the more traditional protectors of our practice lineage. So now they are both being fed by the circum. Yeah, and technically I don't have to have two. I choose to have two. Once I fill them, this is a teapot that a friend gave me, but it's perfect for this. So I make my black tea, and then I'm supposed to only just pour enough to kind of fill the top here. When I get ready to practice, then I'll fill it all the way to the top to the point of overflowing so that it pours all the way down. Same again, just as it's going to go sit on the altar, and I always end up dumping some by accident. It doesn't matter if I have a camera in my hand or not. It just is the way it goes. It just doesn't ever seem to work out quite right. But this can sit here until I'm ready to practice later. And I realize now that I'm doing this, I gotta readjust that candle just so weensy. I think it's gonna sit over here just a bit. Here we go. Keeping everything on here the way that I need to, so that nothing it's a balancing act, but it's one that I really love. I love keeping an altar or a shrine. I tend to call it a shrine in the Tibetan tradition, but I do love keeping it. So this would be, oh, I made a terrible mistake. So I was supposed to have lit incense first. That's okay, we'll fix it. I'm almost out. So this is a temple, a traditional like Tibetan temple incense that I'm lighting. And it should have been burning on here before doing the circums, and that's okay. And then when I go to practice later, before I get to the part where I'm making the offering to the protectors, there should still be enough incense going that there are candles lit and or incense going during that part of the practice. And then again, whenever I'm taking the circums outdoors, and I usually do that immediately following the practice. So yeah, not anything like a traditional witchy altar. It's a lot more, the Tibetans are so, they're so complicated. Everything's so complicated. It's so esoteric, and I still really love it. A lot of this, as you notice, didn't change much from the way it was like a year ago. And that's because even after I took like the special course in how to keep an altar and so forth, and the offerings to the protectors always go on that side, by the way. I instinctively knew all of this because, Zangri was instructing me, I think. I don't know. I don't have any other explanation for it. Let's put it that way. When I made that connection to that lineage so deeply through the Chud practice, that's just what happened. And so it was like I got told, if you're adding Atara, if you're adding Machi, here's how you need to do that. And so I made those adaptations. So this is the finished altar, and I did do a little bit of cleaning and rearranging of my plants. All of these are rocks from Taramandala, except this one, which, as you can see, it looks solid, but it's actually in 3 chunks. It came from Crescent Lake in, sometimes I just leave it in the chunks like this because I like the way that looks too. It came from Lake Crescent in Washington State in the Olympic Mountains. And there's my Grandma Jones owl. This is a Chala, who is possibly an emanation of Manjushri, but I keep him there or somewhere up here. And then on this side, I cleaned up my Grandma Turner bluebird and all the dirt that was back there. That little red bag was also back there. It had dirt on it from the plants. Those are it's all blessed, so I really don't get upset about it. That is those are my moon blocks in there. And then, of course, all of the Machi. This is a fossilized, some kind of a snail shell, or like almost a conch shell, that I found in a rock garden. My parents' rocks in their garden. I was weeding their rock garden and like pulling all of the weeds out, and this was just in there. And I nearly fell over. It's a fossil. always check those rock gardens, folks. I find some beautiful things in there. So I decided to offer that one to Ma Cheek as well, because I love her so much. There she is. I got all the cat hairs off of her flames, her wisdom flames. And I think I got all the cat hairs off of Mount Everest back there. That is, these are both rocks from Tara Mandala. And I cleaned off the jar with all of my conch shells and my elephant. And now, yeah, it feels so much better. I did clean, everything's been cleaned within an inch of its life, and it's been, you know, the roller has gone over everything and so on. And then to finish up, so I've got all of that done. I feel happy. I feel connected. My heart feels wide open again. Not that it didn't earlier, it just always does after I work with my shrine. It just makes me so happy. Then I've got everything over here ready to go for my readings later. So in here, which ought to look pretty familiar and also needs a dusting because Marty has taken to sleeping up here again. This was the candle that was anointed and on the altar with the water bowls. Every time I'm done, I take it out, and this is the one I burn for Manjushri practice. So there we go. I'm going to tidy up a little bit over here and then film the mo. And I'll see you all again soon. Take care. Bye.